Hello kids, I'm back again with my new video of class 7 history, and this is chapter 8 devotional path of the to the divine. You may have seen people perform ritual of worship or singing bhajan, kirtans and kavalis, or even repeating the name of the god in silence, and notice that some of them are moved to tears. Such intense devotion or love of God in the legacy of various kind of bhakti and Sufi movement that have been evolved since the 8th century. The idea of supreme God before large kingdoms emerged, different kind of people worshipped their own god and goddess. As people were brought together through the growth of towns, trade, and empires, new ideas began to develop. The idea that all living things pass through countless cycle of birth and rebirth, performing good deeds bad became too widely accepted. Similarly, the idea that all human beings are not equal, even if the birth gained around during the periods, the belief that social privilege came from birth in a noble family or high caste was subjected of many learned texts. Many people were uneasy with such ideas and turned to the teaching of Buddhas or Jains, according to which it was possible to overcome social difference and break the cycle of rebirth through personal efforts. Others felt attracted to the idea of supreme God who would deliver human from such bondage if approached with devotion. This idea, advocated in Bhagavad Gita, grew in popularity in early centuries of Common Era. Shiv, Vishnu, and Durga as supreme deities came to be worshipped, though elaborate rituals and the same time god and goddess worship in different areas came to be identified with Shiva, Vishnu, or Durga. In the process, local myths and legends became a part of Puranic store, and the method of worship recommended in Puranas were introduced in local cults. Eventually, the Puranas also laid down, and it was possible for devotee to receive the grace of God regardless of their status. The idea of bhakti became so popular that even Buddhists and Jainis adopted their beliefs. A new kind of bhakti in South India, Narayana and Alvaras. The 7 to the 9th century saw the emergence of new religious movement led by the Narayana and Alvara who came from all states, including those considerable untouchable like the Pulyaras and Panaras. They were sharply critical of Buddhists and Jainis and preached ardent love of Shiva and Vishnu as a path of salvation. They drew upon the idea of love and heroism as found in Sangam literary and blended them with the value of bhakti. The Narayanaras and Alvarez went from place to place composing acoustic poem in praises of the deities. Enshrined in the village, they visited and set them to music. Between the 10th and 12th centuries of Chola and Pandya's king built elaborate temples around many of the shrines visited by the saint poets, strengthening the links between the bhakti tradition and the worship and the temple worship. This was also the time where the poems were compiled. Beside hagiographies or religious biographies of the Alvaras and Narayanas were also composed. Today we use these texts as source written historians of bhakti tradition. Philosophy and Bhakti. Shankara, one of the most influenced philosophers of India, was born in Kerala in the 8th century. He was an advocate of Advaita of doctrine of oneness of individual soul and supreme God, which is the ultimate reality. He taught that Brahman, the only of ultimate reality, was formless and without any attributes. He considered the world around us to be an illusion or Maya and preached reunifications of the world and adoptions of path of knowledge to understand the true nature of Brahman and attain salvation. Ramanuja, born in Tamil Nadu in 11th century, was deeply influenced by the Alvaras. According to him, the best mean of attaining salvation was during was through the intense devotion of Vishnu. Vishnu, in his grace, helped the devotee to attain the bliss of union with him. He propounded the doctrine of Vishtavita or qualified oneness, in that the one soul, even when united with the Supreme God, remained distinct. Ramanuja doctrine greatly inspired the new strands of bhakti which developed in North Indian subsequently. Bhashwana Virashvini Bhashwana Virasha Ism. We noted earlier the connection between Tamil Bhakti movement and the temple worship. This in turn led to the reaction that is best represented in Virage Shiva movement. This movement began in Karnataka in mid 12th century. The Virashiva argued strongly for the equality for all human beings and against the Brahmanical ideas about caste and treatment of women. They also against all form of ritual and idol worship. The saint of Maharashtra. From the 13th to the 17th centuries, Maharashtra saw a great number of saint poets whose song in simple Marathi continued to inspire people. The most important among them were Janeshwara, Navideva, Eknath, and Tukaram, as well as women like Sukubai and the family of Cholakam who belonged to the untouchable Maharkas. This religion tradition of bhakti untouched of Vithala temple in Pandarpur, as on the notion of the personal God residing on the heart of the people. These saint poets rejected all form of ritualism, outwards display of the pity and the social difference based on birth. In fact, they even rejected the idea of reunionization and preferred to live with their families, earning their livelihood like as any other person, while humble serving fellow human being is need. A new humanist idea emerges as they insisted that bhakti lay in sharing others' pain. As the famous Gujarati saint Mercy Mehta said, they were Vaishnavas who understand the pain of others. A number of religions groups that emerged during this period criticized the ritual and other aspect of conventional religion and the social order using simple logical arguments. Among them were the Natpatis. They advocate realization of the world. To them, the path of salvation lay in meditation on the formless ultimate reality and the realization of oneness with it. Islam and Sufism. The saint had much in common with the Sufis, it so much so much that it is believed that they adopted many ideas of each other. Sufis were Muslim mystics. They rejected outward religiosity and emphasized love and devotion to God and comparison towards all fellow of human being. Islam propagated strict monothesis of submissions to one God. It also rejected idol worship and considerable simplified ritual of worship into the collective prayer. A large number of Sufis from Central Asia settled in Hindustan for 11th centuries onward. This process was strengthened with the establishment of Delhi Sultanate. When the several major Sufi centers developed all over the subcontinent, the Christi Sislas was among the most influenced orders. It had a long line of teachers with Khwaja Munuddin Chisti of Ajmer, Kutubuddin, and that was all about the story. Thank you.